Mexico to New York. The company did not say what was demanded or by whom. Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn is calling for improvements to the nation's energy infrastructure.
We have had a Department of Energy cybersecurity project at Oak Ridge Labs, and I've been pushing to bring all of our national labs into a consortium to work on this, because securing our nation's critical infrastructure is going to be an imperative because of these bad actors that are out there.
Energy analysts say the impact on fuel supplies and prices depends on how long the pipeline is shut down. Deportations have reached an all-time low as a record surge of new migrants and asylum seekers continues at the southern border. Fox's Bill Malusian in Del Rio, Texas.
Border Patrol reporting that just here in Del Rio in the past week alone, they've been averaging 740 apprehensions every single day. The local sheriff here telling us he's never seen it worse and that human smugglers have been taking advantage. A semi-truck that got pulled over by local police after folks out there reported seeing people in the back of the truck. Police pull it over and there were dozens of migrants in the back of that semi.
Customs officials report 162,000 migrants were detained in April, but about 30,000 got away. 3 people were dead, including a suspect, and 2 others are injured after a shooting and fire in Maryland. Baltimore County Police say officers found an armed man outside a burning home in Woodlawn and shot him. The fire damaged 2 other homes. America is listening to Fox News.
Finally, get curcumin and CoQ10 together. Stop Aging Now brings you CoQ10 Ultra to fight inflammation and energize your body. Get a 30-day supply for 40% off plus free shipping with promo code FOX. Power and protect your cells for a strong heart, sharp brain, pain-free joints, and more. Nancy from West Virginia raves, CoQ10 Ultra helps me stay mentally and physically fit. Only from Stop Aging Now. Get 40% off plus free shipping right now. Go to stopagingnow.com and use code FOX.
The Equality Act is stalling out in the U.S. Senate. Democrats had hoped they could pass the legislation creating new protections for LGBTQ Americans this year, but Republicans warn it would open the floodgates for transgender athletes to play on female sports teams. A large piece of a Chinese rocket from a launch last month is expected to fall back to Earth this weekend. Fox's Jill Nato reports.
A 23-ton rocket core careening out of orbit and headed for Earth. We don't know where it's going to hit, but researchers think they have an idea as to when. The Center for Orbital Reentry and Debris Study says it'll be around 04:19 Greenwich Mean Time. That's 12:19 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday, give or take 8 hours. Because the Earth is mostly covered with water, chances are it'll hit an ocean. And some scientists believe as much as 40% of it will get burned up in the atmosphere. But if it hits land, whatever's left of it is bound to leave a mark. Jill Nato, Fox News.
At least 30 people were dead after a bomb exploded near a girls' school west of Kabul. The Taliban condemned the attack, and there's been no claim of responsibility. A well-known billionaire hosting tonight's Saturday Night Live show on NBC.
Tesla and SpaceX billionaire Elon Musk will take the stage this evening to try his hand at hosting the iconic show, which also features Miley Cyrus as musical guest. The announcement of Musk as Saturday Night Live host has drawn criticism on social media.
If you're looking for work, you know what I mean by elevator speech. It's the short version, saying just enough to make the listener want to listen more. Even if you're not a job seeker, effective communication skills have never been more important, with money and attention so scarce now. So to cut through the clutter, choose every single word as though it was the last word the person you're speaking to will hear. Otherwise, it might be. Instead of saying, due to the fact that, say, because. And avoid mispronunciations. Say jewelry, not jewelry, which could offend. Undoubtedly, you don't want to say undoubtedly. And whatever you do, never use a preposition to end a sentence with. Just kidding. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
According to a report released Monday, Americans currently lead the world in compressing big sandwiches into sufficiently biteable sizes, outranking countries such as Germany, Slovenia, and Ukraine in their sheer capacity to squeeze BLTs, meatball subs, and grinders into shapes that will easily and efficiently fit into their open mouths. Researchers pointed out that in series after series of tests, Americans consistently topped international rankings by implementing over 800 pounds per square inch of compressive force on sandwich categories as diverse as banh mi, croque monsieurs, or gyros, rarely hesitating for more than a moment before diving in and pushing the bread together and wedging it into their mouths.
Even in the cases in which Americans failed to sufficiently compress a sandwich and, say, dropped a stray piece of bacon or avocado, they still led the pack on quickly scooping up this topping with their hands and eating it, sometimes even inventively doing so with a stray potato chip or french fry.
This is the Onion News Network. Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line for you to call in and talk about whatever is on your mind. 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
And Joa.
And these volume knobs on the headphones being turned down is really throwing me off. Like, I put it on and heard nothing. I was like, oh, God, I didn't do any sound checks or anything like that prior to the start of the show, and now there's nothing playing. So that was a bit stressful. And I looked over and I was like, oh, it's just turned down. So that's convenient. Finally got a day off yesterday. That was absolutely wonderful. I'm hoping here in the very near future, my workload will be significantly reduced.
Right on.
As most, I'm sure it was discussed last night, but yesterday, Ian Freeman had his detention review hearing. I don't know exactly what it was.
Yes.
But they reviewed it, and it was very positive.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay. Yes, he can be essentially taken out of the prison, the bars, but with stipulations, of course.
Well, there's stipulations on all of us, all six of us at least, and he'll have more freedom here at his house than he will in jail.
At the very most, his house.
Yes.
I guess I'm just guessing that they're gonna agree to the ankle monitor to his home.
It seems silly to me, but I'm not the judge here, and I'm not the prosecutors here or any of that. They have until noon Thursday to submit list of conditions that they find acceptable. Ian's attorney will submit his own list of conditions, and hopefully by the end of Thursday, Ian will be free. I don't know how long it would actually take.
Well, free-ish.
Like I've been saying since this started, freedom shouldn't be relative, but right now it is.
I guess so.
So I'll just have to consider that free for the time being until we are actually free. I don't know how long it would actually take. They want him to put up some property and stuff like that. I have no idea what kind of time frame that involves. Hopefully it could get done that day, considering the property that we're discussing is unencumbered, which means there's no, lien against it or anything like that. So hopefully by the end of Thursday, Ian will be free and back in the studio. I wouldn't expect him to be on Free Talk Live that night because he's unlikely to get released until like 7, even if he is released Thursday. I suspect it'll be earlier next week, though. Okay. I just don't know. But it was a very positive hearing, and it started to concern me when the judge started out his closing statement with, well, I have to agree with Magistrate Johnstone here about Ian's being detained, but ultimately he is open to the possibility of Ian being released. It's just a matter of getting the prosecutors to submit their terms, which of course they're going to drag their feet on. They don't do anything quickly. And then ultimately Ian's attorney to agree to those terms and make all of that happen.
All I know is that the prosecutors failed to cite any real victims. They were saying there were victims, but then, they did recognize that he was obviously trying to avoid creating victims. So it was like he was actually trying to avoid creating a problem within their system. But, they're still saying there's victims. But who are they? I want to know.
I can't comment much on that regard, but I do know that we had on one of these victims here on Free Talk Live for the full episode one Tuesday when it was just myself and Ian, or maybe it was a Wednesday. I don't remember what day it was. But we discussed it with the guy in detail. He was the victim of a romance scam that started out with him buying prepaid Visa cards, huge amounts of prepaid Visa cards, and just scanning them and sending the receipts and numbers to this scam artist. And ultimately, the Visa gift card avenue ran dry, and the guy was instructed to send money to Ian in order to buy Bitcoin. And the guy, he provided all of the stuff that Ian required.
Yeah.
The ID, the letter stating his intention was to buy Bitcoin or whatever. But as it turned out, people, when they're caught up in scams, they have a very hard time seeing that they're caught up in scams. After that, the sunken cost fallacy kicks in, and they become less and less likely to break out of it. This guy never did until he just completely spent all of his inheritance on this scam artist. But with these Visa prepaid debit card scams, they happen irregardless. Ian can't stop those. Visa isn't getting rated for it. Walmart isn't getting rated for it. It's silly to think that it's somehow Walmart's fault.
Or it could be happening 2 blocks away at a Bank of America.
Yeah.
Like, who's to say that, it's all Ian's fault? It's
Well, to their credit, the prosecutors did point out that Ian in no way colluded with any of these fraudsters.
That's right, which is interesting.
Yeah, I was surprised by that admission. It's an honest statement, but I wouldn't have expected them to be so forthright about that. But in their own statement about, why he should be detained, they explicitly pointed out that, he hasn't worked with any of these fraudsters. He's not their ally or anything like that. So that was pleasantly surprising. It's actually been a really good week. With my day off yesterday, I got to play Resident Evil Village. Wow. And I don't know if I like it or not, to be honest with you. It's fun, but Capcom has sort of lost their minds here, okay? I don't know if you're familiar with the Resident Evil series, but
a little.
Basically, these viruses mutate people and turn them into things that no longer even resemble human beings. I mean, it's time for them to stop trying to make any of this stuff sound scientific. They lost the ability to do that around Resident Evil 3 when you were fighting someone the size of a building, a human being that got morphed into something that was basically filled up an entire room. It's like, okay, there's no virus even conceivably possible that's going to do this. Okay. But now they've added these super bugs that use human pheromones to mimic humans, and it looks and acts like witchcraft. And I would have been happier if they just said, "Oh yeah, we're adding witches to the series now," instead of these pheromone-filled bugs or whatever. It's very bizarre. I won't get a chance to play it again, so at least not in the near future. And it's one of those games where you have to do a lot of backtracking, remembering what you already did, what you have now, what you couldn't do back then. And there's no chance when I get the time to play it again that I'll remember any of it.
Well, I'm glad you had that little bit of freedom.
Me too, right? It was fun. It was a good way to spend an evening. And then I ended up working and fell asleep at my desk and woke up at like 6 o'clock this morning with my back hurting because I slept with my face on a desk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So that was fun. Missed an appointment with an attorney, but it's all good. So in the world today, what's happening with Dogecoin? Now, I'm not overly familiar with it. I saw that it increased to like 63 cents a coin, but now it's back down to like 49 cents. And evidently it has something to do with Elon Musk. Do you know?
Well, you know how it goes. Buy the trends, sell the news, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what's going on.
Okay. Well, hopefully.
And, with everything else, though, is that Elon was really staging these news articles as, the trend was following. Like how he's going to be naming the SpaceX the Doge One.
Is he really?
Yeah. So the first, private rocket to the moon is going to be Doge One.
Well, I do have an article here in front of me. It actually had to be printed off. It's strange to me that I can't just go to the website and read it off the website. But if someone prints it for me, I can sit here and read that. It's so weird. But it is about Dogecoin. Evidently, a Goldman Sachs director has quit after striking it rich with Dogecoin. A managing director at the London office of Goldman Sachs has reportedly left the brokerage after making millions on Dogecoin. Aziz McMahon has been with the bank for 14 years, according to his LinkedIn profile, but a Goldman spokesperson confirmed to Fortune that he has departed. A report says the move came after a huge payoff in the cryptocurrency that no one was meant to take seriously. And I still don't take it seriously. It's funny to me that two Dogecoins are now worth more than $1.
Yeah.
That's hilarious to me. The US dollar has been trying for the last 100 years to be taken seriously as a currency, and now two of these joke coins.
It is a real joke, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it shows that the real joke here is the USD. And if
I love it. I love that a joke is more valuable than a US dollar.
Well, two jokes.
Two jokes.
Hopefully Doge will break $1. More coming up on this. Goldman Sachs employee quits because of Dogecoin. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Free Talk Live, the show where anyone can call about whatever they want. And we do mean anyone.
Jesus Christ visited every tribe in America.
In America?
In America, absolutely. There's a book that came out.
He got around, didn't he?
He was in India.
How did he
China.
get from point A to point B?
He had quite a life.
In a boat.
So they took a boat from the Middle East all the way over to North America?
Absolutely. Archaeologists went and visited different tribes and followed their myths and stuff. And none of them used the name Jesus, but they all described him as a white man with long brown hair and a beard.
Now, why is it that Jesus is white? That's what I want to understand.
How did a white guy get born to a bunch of Sephardic Jews is what I want to know.
No.
Well, God's white, so I mean, that's how.
Of course he is.
Was the Immaculate Conception. He could make that baby whatever color he wanted to.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can call in, take control of the airways, and talk about whatever you want. 603-283-6160. With you in the studio, it's Aria and Joa, and I don't know how much longer I'll be hosting the show from this studio. The current plan is going to be for me to host it from my studio, and it's like you said, man, it's going to get really interesting here.
Yeah.
So, but hey, I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, I am looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I'm not going to see you here, but maybe I'll see Ian here.
I wish I could give him a hug, but can't.
Yeah.
I mean, even when he's out, it's not like I'll be able to come over here and say, "Hey, Ian, how are you doing?" or anything like that. It's very frustrating. I mean, he's my boss here at Free Talk Live. How am I supposed to do my job without communicating with my boss? But hey, we've been managing so far. So Goldman declined to offer any additional details on McMahon's departure. The eFinancial Careers piece, recent hosting, it cut off and skipped it. Do you have this article pulled up in front of you?
I have it from Yahoo Finance.
That's the one I have here.
Okay. A manager director at Goldman Sachs, London office, has reportedly left the brokerage after making millions on Dogecoin.
We're on the third paragraph in the article.
Okay. Goldman declined to offer any additional details on McMahon's departure. The eFinance Careers piece suggested that he might be starting a hedge fund, but it did not provide any information backing that claim. If McMahon did cash in enough Dogecoin to quit his high-level job, he likely did so before Elon Musk's recent hosting stint on Saturday Night Live, which led to 30% drop in Dogecoin prices.
How bad was the show?
Well, see, that's not how it works, right? You buy the trend, you sell the news.
I still don't understand why Elon Musk being on Saturday Night Live would disrupt the Dogecoin market.
Well, look, here's a little bit of crypto strategy for you, is that when you know something's going to happen and it happens, this is a selling point. This is when people sell, because there's going to be a lot of people buying. So that's what's going to drop it.
Right.
So now we're waiting for the trend back up. Right. So if I don't really understand this article too much either. So if he bought into it before the trend.
Well, Elon Musk has been one of the major driving factors behind the trend. I'm just unclear on why his appearance on Saturday Night Live would have any impact.
Sure. I mean, I would say he wasn't the best performing host.
I'm not surprised. I mean,
yeah,
he's Elon Musk. He's kind of, I can't say what I think about him on the air.
I would say he's very entertaining, but he's very dry. But for some reason, his dry attitude with a little bit of humor is what sells a lot to people. And I do appreciate him doing this, but I wish he would. He said he wasn't going to act out, right? But I wish he did. I wish he was dropping more info bombs and using it as a platform. But no, he just want to be a normie elitist.
He is a strange one.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that he's doing what he's doing for Dogecoin. I just wish a more deserving cryptocurrency was the one he was helping make mainstream.
Sure.
But hey, if Dogecoin becomes the currency of the realm, I won't exactly be upset.
Right.
It's cheap to acquire and it's easy to spend and it has very low fees. So
promoting Dogecoin is like promoting Bitcoin. These are coins that have been taken over by corporate interests, and they're going to be stunted. So expect these things to happen.
So the article goes on.
Yes, companies are increasingly jumping on board as well. Earlier this week, the Oakland A's began selling seats for Dogecoin, and
who did? The Oakland A's are selling seats for Dogecoin?
Yes. Let me just say that Elon Musk and Mark Cuban and Guy Fieri are also in the spotlight when it comes to trading this coin. But the article has a mistype here. But they're saying that Cuban last week said that the Dallas Mavericks would complete 6,000 with an extra zero. So this is a mistype. I don't know if it's 6,000 or 60,000 Dogecoin transactions in April, adding that it's a crypto that people actually use rather than just hold. I don't know how to use it.
I don't know anywhere here in Keene that takes Dogecoin.
But I do.
Well, actually, that's not true. Mighty Moose Mart would probably accept Dogecoin.
Yes.
But they'll accept just about any cryptocurrency.
Anypay.
But they're just going to flip it into, Bitcoin at their earliest convenience.
Sure. Which I don't know if it's a good idea.
I don't know if any websites that you can use for Dogecoin. Maybe BitPay supports it.
I'm sure there's places. Because its popularity now is definitely catching on. It'd be easy for them to set that up.
But still, if you're trying to buy software or something like that online, your best bet is going to be with Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or something.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen one that takes Dogecoin. I'm sure it exists.
Yeah.
But people spend Bitcoin Cash more readily than they do Dogecoin.
Hey, if it takes Dogecoin for a lot of places to start accepting crypto, so be it. Let's do it.
I'm with you. I would like to see, being able to spend Dogecoin at Walmart or whatever.
Ooh.
Unlike Bitcoin, Dogecoin actually is usable as money. And it's apparently becoming as valuable as the USD. It's at least more valuable than a quarter.
Ooh.
So
quarters take a lot of money, take more than $1 to produce in itself.
So this joke coin is more valuable than actual money coined, if you were, by the United States government. Everything about that makes me happy.
I can only imagine what the Federal Reserve's thinking right now. Like, are they kicking themselves in the butt right now? Be like, why didn't I invest in Bitcoin and Doge?
I would love for Dogecoin to be the one that ultimately takes down the Federal Reserve System. The universe needs that to be Dogecoin that does that.
There'll be a little dog on our paper currency.
Yeah, here comes this little dog. Oh no, the USD got evaporated.
Ironically. But like I just find it funny because like the Federal Reserve, they're very wealthy bankers. It's made up of globalist banks.
Yeah.
So for them to start considering cryptocurrency makes you think about where the US dollar is headed and how it is backed. Because it's not backed by anything except for the full faith and trust of government.
It's amazing how many people don't know that, though.
It says it right on the damn bill.
I know, but people are stupid, man. I was arguing with my father about this many, many years ago, and he didn't even know what the Federal Reserve System was. And I was talking to him about Ron Paul had just released in the Fed, and I was trying to argue this with my father why we needed to end it. And just based on the name that it was called the Federal Reserve Bank, his response was, well, that sounds like something we should keep. Dude, you know nothing about it. It's just called this, and you're like, yep, I'm okay with that. It's destroying your wealth systematically, and it has been for the last 100 years. This is not something we need to keep.
Well, at least there's like other platforms being released right now, or I'm sorry, there's platforms that are using crypto, maybe like eBay, maybe?
eBay is accepting cryptocurrency?
They'll be accepting altcoins. Oh, they are already.
603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Carl Wattner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Wattner, Wattner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can call in and talk about whatever you want. 603-283-6160. With you in the studio, it's Arya and Joa, and we've been talking a bit about cryptocurrency, Dogecoin, and the possibility that eBay is going to very soon begin accepting altcoins, but not evidently Bitcoin. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, it would be any cryptocurrency in that fact. But it says e-commerce giant. This comes from Bitcoin.com, by the way. E-commerce giant eBay now allows NFT sales, citing massive wave of attention.
Okay.
Yeah.
I follow you now.
So NFT standing for non-fungible tokens.
Yeah, which seems to be sort of copyright on the blockchain is essentially what that is. And I don't know how I really feel about it, but before we get too deeply into the article, Let's go to the phones. We got Bitcoin Gandhi calling. Now, for those who aren't aware, Bitcoin Gandhi left from my house and the Bitcoin Embassy Sunday at 3 o'clock. How have things been going since?
It is a mixed bag. I would say that it is going roughly as planned, but I am surprised how little interest is shown by media outlets.
I'm surprised by that as well. It seems like Gandhi marching across New Hampshire would get people's attention.
Well, of course, I am not really Gandhi, but I am doing what he did in most of the respects that marked the Salt March of 1930. And, one must do as he did if you are going to attempt to accomplish what he did.
That's an excellent point. Now, obviously, you are not the original 1920s era Indian Gandhi. However, I think that just makes the story more interesting. It isn't just Gandhi marching across New Hampshire. It's someone dressed up like Gandhi, playing a character.
Yes.
And yes. I don't know how they can ignore that. That's fascinating. It's interesting. I can't believe that the media isn't trying to find you to ask you questions. Why are you doing this?
In all fairness, I am the media, and I did cover this event.
Well, Free Talk Live is talking about it right now, and we're certainly the media, but it would help if it got outside of just the libertarian circles.
True that.
So how are people out on the streets responding to you?
Not very much. My BitcoinGandhi.net sign only lasted for a couple of days and then began blowing away and becoming many signs. And so that has been an issue. As you may be aware, I am walking across the state with my camping equipment with me and sleeping in the out of doors each night as the Mahatma did on his Salt March. So there is a logistical challenge, and I am not a particularly competent survivalist, and I'm learning a great number of things about living in the outdoors. But I believe that we must do as he did if we want, as I say, to accomplish what he did.
I hope you are successful in accomplishing what you're seeking to accomplish. Can you describe for me what it is that you're wanting to accomplish?
I wish to protest against the arrest of the Crypto Six in New Hampshire by committing satyagraha at the federal building in Concord, New Hampshire. Satyagraha, of course, means civil disobedience, and it has the word love in it, and I have attempted to practice that as well. But I will be attempting to distribute handbills on their property complaining about their attack on Free Talk Live and the Crypto Six. And this is a violation of a federal policy and or regulation. And I have been arrested for it once before. They do not allow you to present petitions at their buildings.
That's clearly unconstitutional. If you have the right to petition the government, then you have the right to deliver those petitions to the government.
That is what you would imagine. And along my route, I am visiting police stations and delivering these grievances to the police stations, and they are all welcoming me, and there is not a problem. But when I attempt to deliver the one at the federal building, they will likely charge me with a crime or perhaps arrest me to keep me from continuing.
Really? What law is this Bitcoin Gandhi?
I am forever forgetting the exact number. It is rather long. It is called, but it is known as the Distribution of Handbills Prohibition.
Okay.
Definitely something to look into. I assume you delivered one of these to the Keene Police Department?
I did. And then later I began my march to the Stoddard Police Department, where we are scheduled to meet tomorrow. I do not know if we will make it to the Stoddard Police Department, but you will be able to find me at 3 p.m. somewhere near Stoddard in New Hampshire on Highway 9.
Excellent. Well, keep up the great work, Dave. I'm glad to hear what you're doing, and I appreciate what you're doing.
It would be helpful to have additional marchers. That is what we made the Salt March specialty. The march grew over time.
Well, hopefully we can make that happen. Stoddard tomorrow, somewhere on Highway 9 in Stoddard at about 3 p.m. tomorrow. Dave, it's inspiring what you're doing, and I honestly wish I could be out there with you, but I can't pull away from Free Talk Live like for that period of time.
Dave, this is Bitcoin Gandhi. I believe this is your most entertaining theatrical activism that you've done, and I really appreciate that. I think this is going to get you the most attention.
I hope so. But, the media seems to be ignoring it for whatever reason.
Well,
I just don't understand.
I'm the media. I
know you keep saying that, but you're not the Associated Press or the New York Times or
what makes
the
them
Boston
any different
Globe.
than what I do.
They have significantly more reach.
Understandable.
Yeah. I would rather the Boston Globe cover it. I mean, I know a writer at the Boston Globe actually that may be interested in it. He likes writing about kooky, funny things. That's why he wrote about my sheriff campaign.
Okay.
So I may reach out to him and see what I can do.
I'm glad you admit your campaign was kind of kooky. And
it was a nonstop circus.
Yeah,
it
was.
That was intentional, but I didn't set out to become sheriff per se. I set out to have fun. And mission accomplished.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
So eBay is evidently allowing people to buy and sell NFTs. Now, for those who aren't aware, these are basically copyrights that are stored on a blockchain. Like you own this image, and that you own this image is permanently stored on the blockchain. I don't know what utility that would actually have or whether or not somebody else could get that image and you could sue them. I don't know. I'm not a fan of intellectual property when it's done by the government, and I'm still not a fan of it when it's done on a blockchain. And it sounds to me like NFTs are basically a new form of intellectual property.
Yeah, they're just collectibles.
Yes, but limited collectibles in that only one person can have it at a time. And if that person has it, then no one else can have it.
Right. True.
That's the part that I don't like.
Well, on Tuesday, eBay announced that sellers can now sell non-fungible tokens on its platform, which currently has about 187 million buyers. Okay. And eBay
I haven't used eBay in such a long period of time. I think the last time I did, it was to buy a guitar effects processor that's been discontinued, and that's almost impossible to find anywhere else.
Well, if I can't find it like anywhere else, and then I can't find it on Amazon, then I go to eBay.
That's usually what I do, but I can find just about everything I want on Amazon. I had to look up earlier something that I purchased last year because I have to get a second one for my studio. And it was disheartening to see something like 236 Amazon orders over the last year. I was like, okay, yeah, I might have a problem.
Slight obsession.
What do you think about
non-fungible
non-fungible tokens and eBay? 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can weigh in on what we're discussing, or you can change the subject, talk about whatever you want. 603-283-6160. I suspect some people will want to weigh in on this because I don't think we're going to find very many people who agree with me among our largely conservative listener base out there on terrestrial radio. But evidently, try to be surprised here, Israel is oppressing Palestinians.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. Again. Or still would be a more appropriate term, I would imagine. And now stuff is happening. I don't know exactly what's happening because, my ability to access the news is relatively limited. So if I don't see someone talking about it on Facebook, I probably have no idea it's even happening.
Or maybe how the fact that Israel is censoring their own news coming out of there, too.
Excellent points. Coming to us from Fox News, White House Press Secretary Jen, Psaki, said that plans to evict dozens of Palestinians from an East Jerusalem neighborhood work against U.S.-Israeli interest in finding a solution to the conflict, and condemned, quote, extremism that has inflicted violence on both communities. Now, for those who haven't watched any of these actual evictions taking place, it's not like a constable is showing up and serving eviction papers. No, the Israeli police actually go and physically remove these people from where they're located and kick them out. It's not polite, it's oppressive, and it's wrong. Psaki reiterated the administration's support for a two-state solution. Biden's team is communicating a clear and consistent message in support of de-escalation. That is our primary focus. The president's support for Israel's security, which seems to be doing just fine and probably doesn't need the backing of the United States, for its legitimate right to defend itself. Yes, but it's not defending itself. That's part of the core issue here, is that since it's existed since the 30s, Israel hasn't just been defending itself, it's been expanding and growing and conquering land.
That sounds like offensive and oppressive.
They are offensive and oppressive.
Okay.
She condemned rocket attacks against Israel by Hamas, which I also condemn, and other terrorist groups, but highlighted the rights of Palestinians as well as Israelites. We believe Palestinians and Israelis deserve equal measures of freedom, security, dignity, and prosperity. And U.S. officials in recent weeks have spoken candidly with Israeli officials about how evictions of Palestinian families who have lived for years, sometimes decades, in their homes, and of demolitions of these homes work against our common interests in achieving a solution to the conflict in the coming days. Now, Israel, for those who aren't aware, is a certified ethno-state. They explicitly turned themselves into an ethno-state with a constitutional amendment that I think took place in 2019. And as a result, they specifically spelled out in their constitution that Israelis have more rights than Palestinians who happen to live in Israel. And they've been using, this has long been known, but now it's actually literally part of their constitution. If you look at like building permits and stuff like that, 98% of the approvals are to Israelis. Less than 2% of all petitions for permits and stuff like that that are originated with Palestinians actually get approved. Tensions have risen in recent weeks between Israeli police and Palestinian protesters over the eviction plans. I don't blame them. They're losing their homes that they lived in for decades or generations. But another flashpoint has been the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, the third holiest site of Islam and the holiest site of Judaism, which refer to it as the Temple Mount. Hamas, the militant group ruling the Gaza Strip, had given Israel a deadline to withdraw its security forces from the compound, and when the deadline expired, horrifically fired a barrage of 600 rockets into Israel, setting off air raid sirens. Israel responded. It doesn't say how many were killed because of these rockets, but presumably the number was 0 because Israel does have a rocket defense system in place that evidently did its job. Israel responded with airstrikes on Gaza, killing 28 people, including 10 children, according to the Wall Street Journal. And that's another reason I say the ones that Hamas fired doesn't seem to have achieved anything, because they listed the number that Israel killed, but not that Hamas might have killed. The Israeli military said 3 Israelis had been killed by Hamas rocket fire. The military said it was investigating reports that children had been killed, and some casualties could have been the result of rockets sent from Gaza that exploded before reaching Israel. So this is Hamas versus Israel. It's well known that Hamas isn't the most technologically capable. Their rockets, apparently, they buy them from North Korea, presumably, because they aren't very good.
Or they could be old weaponry there for such a long time.
Yeah, from like the 1950s or something. Who knows? So the clash began Friday when Palestinians threw stones at Israeli police occupying the temple. Police responded with tear gas and rubber bullets.
Wait, they had stones? That's all they had?
Yeah, they were throwing rocks.
I'm being facetious there.
If I recall correctly, I wish I could remember the story. We covered it. Someone was shot and killed because they were trying to approach a certain wall, or fence, with a balloon or something like that. And the Israeli Defense Forces murdered them. I'm going to have to look into that story because I don't remember the details.
Maybe right around the movie It.
It was shockingly horrific. Current rules state that tourists can visit the site, but only Muslims are allowed to pray there. But in recent years, Jews, escorted by police, have been holding prayer there. I think that's fair. Some Israelis believe the site should be open to all worshipers, but Palestinians have refused. I would tend to agree. It sounds like it's a holy location for all 3 religions. Well, presumably not Christianity. So
generally, that whole area is holy. So you think they would all respect it very holy-like?
Well, yeah, that would be nice. You don't want to disrespect a holy site by fighting about it. That seems inherently disrespectful of the holy site. The White House's criticism of Israel stands in stark contrast to the approach under former President Trump. I don't know that I remember Trump ever even mentioning Israel.
Yeah, no, he recognized it as a state of some sort, or
Okay.
I forget exactly what the terminology was, but yeah, he did definitely recognize Israel as a nation state.
When I was in office, we were known as the Peace Presidency because Israel's adversaries knew that the United States stood strongly with Israel, and there would be swift retribution if Israel was attacked. Under Biden, the world is getting more violent and more unstable because Biden's weakness and lack of support for Israel is leading to new attacks on our allies. Now, what he's referring to here are Palestinians who threw rocks at police who are occupying their holy site. I don't know that he's unbiased in his characterization of these events. But I would also argue that it would be fair for the Palestinians to allow Jews to pray there. It's silly that they can come, but they can't pray.
I always feel like Joe Biden is very restrictive of what he says that would be negative against Israel.
Sure.
So even if it was a positive thing, like it was like, obviously you got to take the side of the Palestinians, but it's probably best to say nothing right now so he doesn't, tick off the
or so he
Israel's.
just doesn't start rambling about kids stroking his leg hair or whatever.
Yeah.
Some of Biden's gas, man, they are phenomenal. Who was it that's a bad dude? Do you remember that one?
No.
I'm going to have to look it up again. America must always stand with Israel and make clear that the Palestinians must end the violence, terror, and rocket attacks. And make clear that the U.S. will always strongly support Israel's right to defend itself. Unbelievably, Democrats also continue to stand by crazed anti-American Representative Ilhan Omar and others who savagely attack Israel while they are under terrorist assault. That's presumably another one of Trump's quotes. I've never known Trump to be that verbose, but presumably in writing he was. I don't know. The story of what's happening in Israel and, the Gaza Strip and just that whole area in general is a chaotic, nightmarish mess that no one can really navigate. I don't know what a good solution would be. It doesn't look like they're ever going to come to peaceful coexistence, though.
I don't think so. I think one of the biggest mistakes was allowing, and I hate to say this, but allowing these Israelites to occupy a certain area where people have been settling there. And you don't think there's going to be conflict there? I mean, yeah, there's going to be, they're not going to agree on their religions, but that doesn't mean that they need to escalate and militarize their religion onto another. And that's essentially what's going on. And building a giant wall is not going to solve a problem either.
No, it seems that Israel has, since its existence from the 1930s, I believe it was. Oh, no, it was the 1940s. I don't know why I kept saying the 30s. Has essentially been doing to the Palestinians what the white people did to the Native Americans.
Sure.
Except the Israelis didn't kill as many of them. They tried to just take their land from them. It's all very confusing, but it's not good. And it needs to come to a stop. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A major energy pipeline shut down by a cyber attack. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Colonial Pipeline says it was targeted by a ransomware attack that forced it to temporarily shut down a pipeline that stretches from the Gulf of Mexico to New York. The company did not say what was demanded or by whom. Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn is calling for improvements to the nation's energy infrastructure.
We have had a Department of Energy cybersecurity project at Oak Ridge Labs, and I've been pushing to bring all of our national labs into a consortium to work on this, because securing our nation's critical infrastructure is going to be an imperative because of these bad actors that are out there.
Energy analysts say the impact on fuel supplies and prices depends on how long the pipeline is shut down. Deportations have reached an all-time low as a record surge of new migrants and asylum seekers continues at the southern border. Fox's Bill Malusian in Del Rio, Texas.
Border Patrol reporting that just here in Del Rio in the past week alone, they've been averaging 740 apprehensions every single day. The local sheriff here telling us he's never seen it worse and that human smugglers have been taking advantage. A semi-truck that got pulled over by local police after folks out there reported seeing people in the back of the truck. Police pull it over and there were dozens of migrants in the back of that semi.
Customs officials report 162,000 migrants were detained in April, but about 30,000 got away. 3 people were dead, including a suspect, and 2 others are injured after a shooting and fire in Maryland. Baltimore County Police say officers found an armed man outside a burning home in Woodlawn and shot him. The fire damaged 2 other homes. America is listening to Fox News.
Finally, get curcumin and CoQ10 together. Stop Aging Now brings you CoQ10 Ultra to fight inflammation and energize your body. Get a 30-day supply for 40% off plus free shipping with promo code FOX. Power and protect your cells for a strong heart, sharp brain, pain-free joints, and more. Nancy from West Virginia raves, CoQ10 Ultra helps me stay mentally and physically fit. Only from Stop Aging Now. Get 40% off plus free shipping right now. Go to stopagingnow.com and use code FOX.
The Equality Act is stalling out in the U.S. Senate. Democrats had hoped they could pass the legislation creating new protections for LGBTQ Americans this year, but Republicans warn it would open the floodgates for transgender athletes to play on female sports teams. A large piece of a Chinese rocket from a launch last month is expected to fall back to Earth this weekend. Fox's Jill Nato reports.
A 23-ton rocket core careening out of orbit and headed for Earth. We don't know where it's going to hit, but researchers think they have an idea as to when. The Center for Orbital Reentry and Debris Study says it'll be around 04:19 Greenwich Mean Time. That's 12:19 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday, give or take 8 hours. Because the Earth is mostly covered with water, chances are it'll hit an ocean. And some scientists believe as much as 40% of it will get burned up in the atmosphere. But if it hits land, whatever's left of it is bound to leave a mark. Jill Nato, Fox News.
At least 30 people were dead after a bomb exploded near a girls' school west of Kabul. The Taliban condemned the attack, and there's been no claim of responsibility. A well-known billionaire hosting tonight's Saturday Night Live show on NBC.
Tesla and SpaceX billionaire Elon Musk will take the stage this evening to try his hand at hosting the iconic show, which also features Miley Cyrus as musical guest. The announcement of Musk as Saturday Night Live host has drawn criticism on social media.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeen.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeen.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeen.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeen.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeen.com.
This is the Onion Week in Review. According to a Stanford University study released Wednesday, there is no logical reason why planes are able to fly. Reiterating that they fully understand the concepts of lift, thrust, and propulsion, lead physicists told reporters they were still unable to reasonably explain how a large 500,000-pound object is capable of staying up in the air without falling.
We've come up with several theories, including wind propulsion, some sort of gravity suspension effect, also the possibility that the clouds pull the plane skyward, but beyond that, just don't understand how a large metal tube could just kind of float in the air like that. And it's going at like 500 miles per hour, which means that when I'm on a plane, I'm also going 500 miles per hour? I mean, that's crazy. I mean, why is my hair blowing back and forth?
The Stanford team added they plan to devote the next 2 years to a new study on why telephones can hear. In other news, an urban planner is stuck in traffic of his own design, and a kid screams behind a passenger during an entire plane crash. Visit theonion.com/newsbeat for more.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. There are so many times I almost give out my cell phone number when I do that because they're very similar. And I have been giving out my cell phone number a lot lately to attorneys and, supervisory officers and all of that. So it just rolls right off my tongue, and it's a continual struggle. I've stopped myself like one digit away from giving out my full cell phone number on the show. So luckily, I haven't yet done so, but it's probably inevitable that I will. But it's been a good week. Ian, it seems, is likely to get released. The judge is certainly open to the possibility, at least, and I'm tremendously looking forward to that, not simply because I want Ian to be free, but it reduces my workload considerably.
Sure.
And gets me back to where I can just consistently have at least one day off each week, possibly even two. A lot is in the air, and it's being settled. I finally got permission from my supervisory officer to watch porn today.
Oh, congratulations.
That only took like a month and a half. In her defense, it wasn't a priority, so I didn't even ask until like a few days ago. I also got permission to use Wish, which I tend not to do because a lot of their stuff comes from China.
Yeah.
And it's made in the Xinjiang province where, there's literal slavery.
Sure.
So I try to avoid it. But there are things that you can buy that are from like India or other countries that don't use as much open slave labor where there's a Holocaust happening. So it's been a good week. I'm looking forward to having good news on Thursday.
I'm looking forward to looking at Ian's face in person again. I noticed that he's grown quite a beard.
I wish I could look at his face in person again, but it's going to be a very long time before that can happen.
I'm so sorry.
I am as well, but if he's free, it will do my heart a lot of good to know. So let's go to the phones. We got Luke calling. Luke, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi, Aria. Hi, Joe. How you doing?
Hey, what's on your mind tonight?
First thing, on my morning conference call at my work, where I work for a major utility, they told us that to have fun this summer at summer barbecues and picnics, but if there's any unvaccinated people around, they want to make sure that you put them at a separate table and you socially distance from them. And
but if you're vaccinated, why would that be necessary, right?
Exactly. It doesn't. This whole thing is upside down. Doesn't make any sense. Then I get a phone call from a very good friend of mine. They're going to put in their locker room red stickers on the lockers of the unvaccinated, and yellow stickers for the people that are vaccinated.
Wow.
I'm not surprised about this
So-
segregating tactics that they're trying to perform or are performing.
We did the math at my other job, and we determined that 73% of our employees have been vaccinated. And that number is actually higher now because 3 additional people have been vaccinated. So I may very well be the only one there who has not been vaccinated at this point.
Wow.
There's no discrimination
That's
there,
where
though.
That's where I feel I'm at too. I feel as though there's only a few of my friends where I work that are unvaccinated, and we're still the same people that have been, we all listen to Free Talk Live for the past 12, 13 years, and it's the same people that are ahead of the curve with a lot of things. I did listen to Ian's bail hearing yesterday too.
I do want to
and
say
it was
thank you
really
to
good for me.
I want to say thank you to everyone who showed up in support. My attorney was stunned by how many people were there. I mean, there were 4 pages of people in the room, something like 80
no,
to
way
100.
more than that. I was going through at least 12 on my phone, anyways. I don't know what you're doing on the.
I think it was
browser.
15 or 25 per page on my
Oh, okay.
computer.
That sounds about right then.
So yeah, 4 full pages of people, 80 to 100 at least. It was a stunning display of support. Probably the best thing that Ian has experienced since March the 16th.
I thought Ian's attorney did very well. They were very prepared. Ian spoke very, very well, like he always does. And I think they actually made the other side look to be overreaching and tyrannical, even to the judge. And I think I have a lot more hope right now for Ian and the Crypto 6 than I did a couple days ago.
I have hope that he's going to be released, hopefully this week. Like I said, I don't know how long it's actually going to take for him to put up the property that they want or any of that, but hopefully this can be done sooner rather than later because he deserves to be free. I mean, he has not been convicted of any crime. The idea of holding him is an atrocious violation of his rights.
It is. He's not a danger to society. He's a very peaceful person. He even expresses that all the time for a very long period of time on the radio. Yeah, and so I don't understand what the problem is. They just want to lock innocent people up and ruin their lives. It's terrible.
As Ian's attorney said, they were trying to use something that nobody said against Ian in the bail hearing, detention reform report, whatever it was. It's all very complicated. And Ian's attorney pointed out that, first of all, that was nobody. You can't use that as a reason to hold Ian in jail. But second of all, Ian is on the record repeatedly arguing about this very issue with nobody.
Hey, to go back to...
It's amazing that that's even an issue because the First Amendment was made to talk about very controversial things. It wasn't made to talk about the weather. So I heard all those conversations with nobody and Ian, and I don't even know why they're even making this an issue, but I realize this is how the system works now, so you got to play within their system.
Unfortunately, that does seem to be the case, but I mean, the system is proving fairer than I expected it to be. I got to be honest. I did not have any hope whatsoever that Ian was going to actually be released. I didn't think the government wanted to let him go.
They definitely don't want that, but they have no choice because they're failing at what they're doing.
I mean, I discussed this with someone. I mean, it was basically going to take a judge being willing to stand up to the government and say, hey, you're out of line here. But shockingly, that's what happened. So hopefully...
I just want to go back to what he originally called for, though. This like segregation type tactics that the government's trying to play. Well, I was helping a friend over in Northfields run for selectman. That's Jason Gearhard. Go hard with Gearhard. And I went to the voting process. I couldn't vote because I'm not from there. However, they segregated the masked and unmasked. So if you were masked, you can go on one side of the building. If you were unmasked, you had to go to the separate side of the building. And also,
they did the same here in Keene, except they wouldn't even allow you in the building.
Really?
They set up a special little outside area where you could vote, and then they delivered your vote to the vote machine.
And then I also went to a Northfields selectman meeting, and where Jason had presented a questioning the IRS type warrant article, irrelevant. But we went to this meeting, and the front section was masked individuals. The back half, right? You got to stay in the back, were the unmasked people. And we had this wall of plexiglass. Did they have
to stay in the back, or is that just how it worked out?
No, that's how they set it up.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was felt very discriminatory and very like.
Well, it sounds very discriminatory.
I would say there's a little bit of power, distributing going on here. Like if you were in the back and you were trying to speak, you had less likely a chance to speak. That's
right. Because you're less likely to be seen, and then you're harder to hear because you're in the back.
Yes.
But there's certainly a power dynamic going on here in regard to this mask thing. I can't help but notice that a lot of people who have nothing better to do love yelling at people for not wearing masks. The other day at my work, some little girl wanted to watch an employee, and she yelled at her, "Oh no, you have to stay 6 feet back." It's just insane. Well, I can't imagine yelling at a little kid.
I whenever I see someone without a mask on, I say, "You have a very beautiful face. Can I give you a hug?"
603-283-6160. The segregation is happening. What are your thoughts on it? 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BingBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Take control of the airwaves, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can talk about whatever you want. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
And Joa.
And evidently, gas prices are going up. Some places can't even get gasoline, it would seem. I didn't even know this was happening until I saw it on Fox News. Evidently, there was some sort of attack on...
Cyber attack.
Yeah, a cyber attack that they're blaming China for, I think.
It just sounds like another false flag, but that's just me.
So, according to Fox News, fuel shortages have widened across the East Coast as consumers continue to panic buy amid the fallout from a cyber attack. No, they're not blaming China. That's good, at least. On the Colonial Pipeline last week by Russian malware group DarkSide, who I've never heard of prior to this. I know that Kaspersky has identified the Equation Group and pretty much spells out that they're the NSA. The 5,500-mile pipeline system transports more than 100 million gallons of gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and heating oil per day, or roughly 45% of fuel consumed on the eastern seaboard between the Gulf Coast and the New York metro area. Well, luckily, this hasn't affected New Hampshire. They're aiming to substantially restore their system by the end of the week. That's pretty much all I've got on it. It then goes into, a list of gas stations that don't have gasoline.
Yeah, that coming out of Chambly, Georgia, more than 1,000 gas stations in the southeast reported running out of fuel. So this is a problem. This is like a run on like toilet paper, but happens to be gas this time.
The dumbest, by far the dumbest part of this whole pandemic has been the initial loss of toilet paper, the run on toilet paper. That is the dumbest thing I've ever seen from human beings. There's a pandemic, better go out and buy toilet paper.
I just want to say that I'm glad they're doing it now versus way too late, right?
You mean you're glad they're panic buying toilet paper?
Well, I just like the idea that people are prepping for some sort of,
Well, the
problem.
issue was that they weren't prepping, right?
Well, of course, yes, but at least they did something, and that people are making a good judgment.
I don't know if that's a good judgment. I mean, people thought the world was going to come to an end because of COVID-19, and their initial plans for dealing with that was primarily buying toilet paper.
That's fair. I just want to say that that the government is being poor judgment on maybe posting an article about it or like telling the world about it, when in reality that's when the panic is occurring. They know that it's going to create more of a problem if they're here to protect us. Well, they're not. They're obviously doing this for some sort of strategical lens. I don't know what it is, but this is,
Who's they? The government?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they want power. Every government in history has wanted power over others, and this pandemic gave them the perfect excuse to secure more power and to abuse that power. And as governments do, never give it back. I mean, governments, especially the United States government, by design, it's designed to become larger and more powerful over time. Laws don't expire. That's the only proof we need that the government was designed to continually grow larger. Every new law they make is just one more going permanently onto the books.
Oh.
So what's going on with the gasoline right now? People are panic buying. I would argue that it's a better idea to just keep as full a tank as you can all the time because you never know what's going to happen.
Oh, sure. The Colonial Pipeline, the biggest fuel pipeline in the United States, delivering about 45%, I think you mentioned this, is consumed on the East Coast and was hit on Friday with a cyber attack, right? And they demand ransom to release them. So I don't know how credible this is. This sounds more of like a false flag. A large
I don't
part
know.
of
Ransomware is pretty big, and certainly hospitals have been hit with it. Cities have been hit with it.
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised that a ransomware group successfully hacked or got ransomware planted in a pipeline company. That wouldn't be terribly surprising for me. I mean, especially given how inept most of these IT companies are. I can't imagine how ransomware could take them down for a full week if they had a good IT staff. Should have been back up and running that day. But probably the stuff that became encrypted was not backed up prior to encryption.
Well, it's saying here that the large part of the pipeline resumed operations manually late Monday, and Colonial anticipates restarting most of its operations by the end of the week. So I don't know why people
so they just
panicking that much.
Yeah, they just pushed the button to turn it back on, it sounds like.
Sure.
Instead of letting it happen automatically, now they're doing it manually.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still experiencing gas shortages because people are still panicking.
I mean, it would take a few days for this to come back, and just a scare tactic. It's going to take a few days for this to get back to normal.
Well, toilet paper and other paper goods are still not back to normal in the United States. It's still difficult to find Cottonelle flushable wipes or toilet paper somewhere.
Sure.
And we're a year into this. It's like, what happened?
Hey, I'm going to solve a problem real quick. There's this thing called Lamb's here. You can use it. It's better than toilet paper. It grows wild. Probably in your backyard.
I would just buy
the look on your face right now, like, I don't want to use that.
No, my plan is to just buy a bidet. That was the initial plan. I just never actually got around to it. And then Amazon started resending my automatic shipments of wipes. So it just fell by the wayside as something for me to.
Yes, I highly encourage bidets. Your butt will thank you later.
So panic buying, it's never done anyone any good. In general, you should prepare basic necessities at the very least, like toilet paper, before some sort of catastrophic event occurs.
Sure.
Ideally, you would want some toilet paper, some bottled water, and some gasoline.
But hey, in all fairness of you suggesting this, that people should set up a reserve at their homes, this is going to create panic buying.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
Because they should be doing this slowly over the period of a year or two, instead of just running out to Walmart and buying all of the bottled water or whatever. But buy one case here, one case there, and just store it somewhere.
I mean, I saw a picture of people loading up gasoline in the back of their car, and they were putting the gas tank sideways to kind of reserve some space for the rest of the tanks that they've just bought. And I was like, oh boy, well, that was worth it, wasn't it? Just to have your car smell like gasoline for the rest of your life, because a little bit's gonna drip out in there. I just find it funny. It's just
so people are panicking to the extent that they are actually buying gasoline jugs and buying more gas than their vehicle can even hold. They're panicking to that extent.
Yes.
Jesus.
Well, how do you
Calm
think they're
down,
running
people.
out? I mean, people. If everyone topped off their tanks, there'd probably still be gas at the gas station. It's the ones that are buying tanks and bringing them home and didn't think about this sooner is the problem.
Well, I don't keep spare gasoline lying around in a jug, but I do my best to keep my cars at full tanks. So it's sort of the same thing.
I would say typically people have a couple gallons laying around if they're living out in the woods of sorts, yes.
I mean, it's good to have on hand. I probably do for my lawnmower or something like that, but
sure,
not enough that's going to get me anywhere. What are your thoughts on the gas shortage? 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Publicists everywhere agreed this week that the nation's celebrities are in dire need of more fame, stressing that all 6 billion of the world's populace should know every U.S. celebrity by name and face by now. Publicists are calling for an emergency influx of buzz, heat, press, and word of mouth to be administered to the nation's celebrities immediately in order to prevent crucial fame levels from becoming dangerously low. Novelist Edward Milligan told reporters this week that in his new book, By the Water's Edge, he has fleshed out in meticulous detail his own huge and stunningly shitty world. Using in-depth research and the power of his own imagination, Milligan was able to conjure out of thin air every hackneyed character, trite street name, and horseshit backstory in the fictional town of Connors Cove. The complete hack proudly said he has created a universe that readers will feel they can actually reach out and touch. Sources say the prolific writer has not yet been punched repeatedly in the face. In other news, McDonald's opens a new senior citizen play place.
This is the Onion News Network.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can call in and talk about anything you want. 603-283-6160. Now, for those who aren't aware, on March the 16th, government agencies conspired together. And they raided the Free Talk Live studio, the Bitcoin Embassy, the homes of Andy and Renee Spinella, and Colleen Fordham, a 60-year-old grandmother. It's always worth pointing out They arrested a 60-year-old grandmother, and they also raided and arrested me. We were taken into custody, but Ian Freeman and nobody remain in custody, although we're hoping that that's going to change very soon for Ian Freeman. No idea what's up with nobody. I've asked my attorney about it. He's got no updates. Check out thecrypto6.com for the full story. There are multiple ways where you can donate to the Legal Defense Fund because these charges aren't a joke. And it's going to take a serious legal team and many experts to protect us from further aggression from the state. The case will likely set precedent that will affect the world of cryptocurrency for decades to come. Help us in our fight for liberty and financial freedom by contributing to the Legal Defense Fund at thecrypto6.com. Once more, thecrypto6.com. And I'm going to buy thecrypto666.com and have it automatically forward there as well. I don't think anyone will ever use it, but it will amuse me to know that I have thecrypto666.com. Now, earlier, we talked about Israel, Hamas, and the Gaza Strip and what's happening there. Evidently, it's ongoing. Israel, on Tuesday, that's today, stepped up its attacks on the Gaza Strip, flattening a high-rise building used by the Hamas militant group and killing at least 3 militants in their hideouts as Palestinian rockets rained down almost nonstop on parts of Israel. It was the heaviest fighting between the two bitter enemies since 2014, and it showed no signs of slowing. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, I thought he had been removed from office for some reason. Anyway, I guess not.
I don't think so.
He vowed to expand the offensive, while Gaza militants unleashed a fierce late-night barrage of rockets that set off air raid sirens and explosions throughout the densely populated Tel Aviv metropolitan area. 3 women in Israel were killed by rocket fire and dozens of people wounded. The death toll in Gaza rose to 35 Palestinians, including 10 children. Over 200 people were wounded. In another sign of widening unrest, demonstrations erupted in Arab communities across Israel, where protesters set dozens of vehicles on fire in confrontations with police. The fighting between Israel and Hamas was the most intense since a 50-day war in the summer of 2014. Wow, these two bitter enemies fought a shorter war than the United States did against Iraq or Afghanistan, both of which, by the way, are still ongoing.
And they'll never end, probably.
It doesn't look like they're ever going to, man.
Until maybe the resources end.
Afghanistan turns 20 this year.
Oh.
And American soldiers are still fighting there 20 years later. That's insane. We will have people enlisting to go fight there who weren't even alive when 9/11 happened.
So how do they even know what they're fighting for?
They're fighting for the corporate interests of the military-industrial complex, whether they realize it or not. Hopefully they realize it. Hopefully people aren't enlisting. But that would be my number one advice. Go AWOL. Stop enlisting.
Yes.
I wouldn't say go AWOL. That's probably a really bad idea. It's a catchy slogan, but it's not of much practical use.
Mentally AWOL, not physically.
I'm sorry?
Mentally AWOL.
Well, I mean, ideally you could get yourself discharged somehow, but in just over 24 hours, the current round of violence sparked by religious tensions in the contested city of Jerusalem increasingly resembled that devastating war. The booms of Israeli airstrikes and hisses of outgoing rocket fire could be heard in Gaza throughout the day, and large plumes of smoke from targeted buildings rose into the air. Israel resumed a policy of airstrikes aimed at killing wanted militants and began to take down entire buildings, a tactic that drew heavily international criticism in 2014. Understandably, you're going to kill a lot of innocent bystanders if you start taking down entire buildings.
Economically, it doesn't make any sense either.
They don't care if they wreck the Gaza Strip economically.
No, I guess not.
In Israel, the nonstop barrage of rocket fire left long streaks of white smoke in their wake while the explosions of anti-rocket interceptors boomed overhead. Do you remember how the U.S. missile defense system was leaked to have been a failure?
For the Israeli border?
No, for the United States.
No, I'm not familiar.
The United States government was working on a strategic missile defense system that would, shoot rockets out of the air if they were heading over here. And the U.S. government was like, oh, yeah, that didn't work. It's so tragic. And I've argued.
Oh, yes, I remember this. Yes.
And I've argued from the moment they said that's BS. It absolutely certainly worked. And we have seen them put that technology into action with these robotic drones they have that don't even have armor. They just have full camera coverage and they shoot bullets to deflect other bullets that are coming toward the drone.
Right.
And we see Israel's functioning right here. It's absurd to believe that the United States couldn't figure it out, but Israel did. Israel is using the technology that the United States figured out.
That's what I was going to say, is I'm sure that Israel got the tech from the United States. So
the most unbelievable lie from the government I've ever heard was that it didn't work. I mean, they also did the same thing, and I think it was the U.S. Navy shot a satellite out of orbit. Really? Because its orbit was decaying and it was going to fall apart, and they're like, well, let's just blow it up. Same exact concept. And they're like, nope, that didn't work. Anyway, in a nationally televised address, Netanyahu said that Hamas and the smaller Islamic Jihad militant groups have paid, and I tell you here, will pay a heavy price for their aggression. He claimed that Israel had killed dozens of militants and inflicted heavy damage on hundreds of targets. The campaign will take time. With determination, unity, and strength, we will restore security to the citizens of Israel. He stood alongside Defense Minister Benny Gantz, a political rival, in a show of unity. There are lots of targets lined up. Oh boy, it sounds like he's having fun with this. This is only the beginning, Gantz said. The military said it was activating some 5,000 reservists and sending troop reinforcements to the Gaza border. The current violence has coincided with the Muslim fasting month of Ramadan, a time of heightened religious sentiments. I didn't know it was Ramadan. That's right. The time of year at which it occurs changes each year. I always forget that. The current violence, because for me, it's associated with the Porcupine Freedom Festival. Because the first one I went to was with Muslims for Liberty and Will Coley, and it happened to be during Ramadan that Porcfest occurred. So every year I'm like, wait, it's not late June. How can it be Ramadan?
They were happy to give me free food too, and I was very thankful for that.
He did that every night of that Porcupine Freedom Festival. It was inspiring.
Yes.
The current violence is okay. I said that. Critics say heavy-handed Israeli police measures in and around Jerusalem's Old City helped stoke nightly unrest. Another flashpoint has been the East Jerusalem neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah, where dozens of Palestinians are under the threat of eviction by Jewish settlers. Just let that sink in.
Oh, settlers?
Settlers.
That's
yes,
the word you use?
That's the word they use.
Not conquerors, right?
Well, the white people settled North America, or what is now the United States.
I still think they conquered too.
Oh, yeah, it was certainly a conquering. I would argue that settlers, I mean, there are already people there, you know. If it's unoccupied land, okay, sure, you're settling it, but there's literally already people there. You're conquering.
Being the 20th century, you know, you'd think that, or, you know,
yeah,
they could have solved this without violence.
Well, you would certainly hope so, but the state doesn't solve anything without violence because the state is violence. Confrontations erupted last week at the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, which is, this is from another story, evidently. At times, police fired stun grenades into the carpeted mosque. Talk about disrespecting a holy site. Sure. Now, I'm not even religious in that sense, but I can't imagine throwing stun grenades into a mosque.
Well, I mean, we did see 3 Bearcats raid the Free Talk Live and home of our friends here.
Well, they also did raid a mosque because there is
a church too, right?
There is a mosque at my residence, and they raided the Reformed Satanic Church, which is also a church at my residence.
So I'm not surprised.
There were no stun grenades, at least. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it, I didn't approve it, I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org. www.freetalklive.org.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it. And once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world. So I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. You can call in and talk about anything you want. 603-283-6160. With you in the studio, it's Aria and Joa, and Aria and Joa. And apparently someone is in the kitchen cooking something, and you pointed this out, and I didn't even notice because I still have no sense of smell or taste.
It smells delicious.
I'm sure my Indian smelled and tasted delicious too, but I couldn't taste it. I'm ready for this to go away. A lot of people keep asking me about the vaccine and whether or not I'm going to get it. And the answer to that is, of course not. I've already had it and I was just fine. It irritated me with the loss of sense or smell, but it's not going to kill me. I see no reason to get vaccinated against something that is that minor.
If it gave you back your sense of smell, would you get it?
It will come back eventually on its own.
Okay. All right.
Presumably.
I was trying to make a hypothetical there.
No, I still wouldn't get it though.
Okay.
But I'm told, it's like 4 weeks is the average. We're past the 4-week point at this point. I think we're closer to 6 or 7 weeks, and I still can't smell or taste anything.
That's very unusual, I would say.
It's extremely frustrating, man. It does come and go. Like, I could smell my fabric softener the other day, but I can't smell it now. And none of these periods of being able to smell correctly have overlapped with any period where I was able to eat. So I still haven't tasted anything.
Well, if you could smell this lady I could smell earlier in the store, you probably would be thankful that you couldn't smell.
I'm sure there have been some smells that I haven't noticed that I would have been that I would be glad to not have noticed.
I'm trying to make a positive out of this, okay?
Sure. It's so weird, man. Confrontations erupted, I've said that. On Monday evening, Hamas began firing rockets from Gaza. From there, the escalation was rapid. In a televised address, Hamas exiled leader said Israel bore responsibility. It's the Israeli occupation that set Jerusalem on fire, and the flames reached Gaza. Palestinian health officials gave no breakdown on the death toll in Gaza, but Islamic Jihad confirmed that 3 senior commanders were killed in a strike on their hideout in a Gaza City apartment building. The health ministry said 10 children and a woman were also killed. Netanyahu said that Israel had attacked hundreds of targets. The fiercest attack was a set of airstrikes that brought down an entire 12-story building.
Wow, a whole building.
The building housed important Hamas offices, as well as a gym and some startup businesses. That's a lot of innocent bystanders.
Sounds like it.
Israel fired a series of warning shots before demolishing the building, allowing people to flee, and there were no casualties. Well, that's good at least. Israel,
or so they say.
Yeah, it's hard to trust the Israeli government about who they're killing and who they're not killing. Israeli aircraft heavily damaged another Gaza City building early Wednesday. Because they're ahead of us. The 9-story structure housed residential apartments, medical companies, and a dental clinic. A drone,
that's not important to keep around.
A drone fired 5 warning rockets before the bombing. Fighter jets struck the building again. Now, how are these warnings going down? Are they like pointing decoy rockets at the building? I mean, or the rockets exploding over the building, saying, hey, get out of here. I don't understand. I'd be curious to know exactly how these warning rockets are being done. Fighter jets struck the building again after journalists and rescuers had gathered around. There was no immediate word on casualties. The high-rise building stood 200 meters away from the Associated Press Bureau in Gaza City, and smoke and debris reached the AP's office. Soon after the bombing, Hamas announced that it would resume its attacks and aimed 100 rockets at the Israeli desert town of Beersheba. Hamas said the renewed barrage was in response to the strike on the building. Who fired rockets first here? That's what I really would like to know. And I don't think anyone is going to give me the honest answer to that. And I don't mean going all the way back to the 16th century about who attacked who first. I mean, in this particular instance, who fired the first rocket?
That's a good question.
And why? He claimed that Israel had killed dozens of militants and inflicted heavy damage on hundreds of targets. That would be Netanyahu. Oh, I scrolled up a lot to look at something. Soon after, the Israeli military said hundreds of rockets were launched toward Israel. 2 women, including an Indian caregiver, were killed in separate rocket strikes in the southern city of Ashkelon. There are a lot of people dying. Can they do some ecstasy together? Can we just get Hamas and Netanyahu and his friends to do a bunch of ecstasy and just hang out for a couple of hours and put this behind them forever?
It might work.
I think that would work. I can't imagine any of these people on ecstasy would continue their hatred of the others. It's not how ecstasy functions. Then, late at night, Hamas said it unleashed a barrage of 130 rockets toward Tel Aviv in response to the destruction of the high-rise. As the rockets rose into the skies, mosques across Gaza blared with chants of God is great, victory to Islam, and resistance. One rocket killed a woman in the city of Rishon LeZion, and another struck a bus in the nearby city of Halan, wounding 3 people, including a young girl. So neither one of these sides is doing anything that's morally good. They're both killing innocent bystanders. That's the issue with modern war. It's no longer 2 armies lining up to shoot at each other like idiots. It's this. It's rockets and killing innocent people.
These strategic motions that create political strategy, and it's I'm sure Israel has a better, much more advantage situation when they have control of the news, whereas the Palestinians are just, it's word of mouth or underground. spreading of the word. So it sounds like, in essence, it sounds like the Palestinians are winning if this is how the Israelis are acting towards them. Like I'm not saying that they should send missiles over there, but it's really showing that that they're still a big threat to them, and that people are just trying to live their days, and Israel just doesn't want anything to do with it because they feel threatened.
Well, it's not just that. It's Israel wants them to give up their land so that Israelis can have it, rather than letting the Palestinians live their lives. They're like, no, we want that land too.
Yeah, land that's been owned in the families for probably hundreds of years, and they're just trying to take it over to build a shopping mall or something.
Yeah, because they want it, essentially. I was just thinking about it. My comment about war, if war was still an occasion where, the U.S. soldiers went out there and they fought directly against the Taliban soldiers or whatever, I would not necessarily be opposed to that. It's just a bunch of idiots getting hired to shoot at other idiots who were hired to shoot at other idiots.
Right.
Everyone there's consenting to it, just like with a boxing match. I'm not against boxing.
Right.
But the issue is that we're not doing that anymore. That's not what war is. War is the targeting of innocent civilians. And it became that way during World War II, and it never went back.
I mean, the results of what they're doing is not only you could die, but the mental health impact that not only does that they can go through, but how it spreads back into their home countries, either the United States or Israel or Palestine. It really affects. It's a snowballing effect amongst the community and economics and just life and culture. It's detrimental, and this is not what we need. We need peace.
The violence was beginning to spill over to Israel's own Arab population, where angry demonstrations erupted across the country. In the central city of Lod, thousands of mourners joined a funeral for an Arab man killed by a suspected Jewish gunman the previous night. The crowd clashed with police and set a synagogue and some 30 vehicles, including a police car, on fire. Paramedics said a 56-year-old man was seriously hurt after his car was pelted with stones. The mayor of that city described the situation as civil war, and the government ordered a deployment of paramilitary border guards from the West Bank to Lod. In neighboring Ramlah, ultra-nationalist Jewish demonstrators were filmed attacking cars belonging to Arabs. And we thought we had racism problems here in the United States. And here we have Arabs attacking Israelis, Israelis attacking Palestinians, and it's all ultimately it could easily be avoided if people would just peacefully coexist. In the northern port town of Acre, protesters torched a Jewish-owned restaurant and hotel. Police arrested dozens of others at Arab protests in other towns. Diplomats sought to intervene, with Qatar, Egypt, and the United Nations working to deliver a ceasefire. All three served as mediators between Israel and Hamas. The UN Security Council planned to hold its second closed emergency meeting in 3 days on the escalating violence, an indication of growing international concern. Council diplomats, speaking on condition of anonymity because discussions have been private, said the UN's most powerful body did not issue a statement because of U.S. concerns that it could escalate tensions. The escalation comes at a political limbo in Israel. The whole situation is a mess.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are dying, and I just urge all sides to put down the weapons. Lay down your arms. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A major energy pipeline shut down by a cyber attack. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Colonial Pipeline says it was targeted by a ransomware attack that forced it to temporarily shut down a pipeline that stretches from the Gulf of Mexico to New York. The company did not say what was demanded or by whom. Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn is calling for improvements to the nation's energy infrastructure.
We have had a Department of Energy cybersecurity project at Oak Ridge Labs, and I've been pushing to bring all of our national labs into a consortium to work on this, because securing our nation's critical infrastructure is going to be an imperative because of these bad actors that are out there.
Energy analysts say the impact on fuel supplies and prices depends on how long the pipeline is shut down. Deportations have reached an all-time low as a record surge of new migrants and asylum seekers continues at the southern border. Fox's Bill Malusian in Del Rio, Texas.
Border Patrol reporting that just here in Del Rio in the past week alone, they've been averaging 740 apprehensions every single day. The local sheriff here telling us he's never seen it worse and that human smugglers have been taking advantage. A semi-truck that got pulled over by local police after folks out there reported seeing people in the back of the truck. Police pull it over and there were dozens of migrants in the back of that semi.
Customs officials report 162,000 migrants were detained in April, but about 30,000 got away. 3 people were dead, including a suspect, and 2 others are injured after a shooting and fire in Maryland. Baltimore County Police say officers found an armed man outside a burning home in Woodlawn and shot him. The fire damaged 2 other homes. America is listening to Fox News.
Finally, get curcumin and CoQ10 together. Stop Aging Now brings you CoQ10 Ultra to fight inflammation and energize your body. Get a 30-day supply for 40% off plus free shipping with promo code FOX. Power and protect your cells for a strong heart, sharp brain, pain-free joints, and more. Nancy from West Virginia raves, CoQ10 Ultra helps me stay mentally and physically fit. Only from Stop Aging Now. Get 40% off plus free shipping right now. Go to stopagingnow.com and use code FOX.
The Equality Act is stalling out in the U.S. Senate. Democrats had hoped they could pass a legislation creating new protections for LGBTQ Americans this year, but Republicans warn it would open the floodgates for transgender athletes to play on female sports teams. A large piece of a Chinese rocket from a launch last month is expected to fall back to Earth this weekend. Fox's Jill Nato reports.
A 23-ton rocket core careening out of orbit and headed for Earth. We don't know where it's going to hit, but researchers think they have an idea as to when. The Center for Orbital Reentry and Debris Study says it'll be around 04:19 Greenwich Mean Time. That's 12:19 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday, give or take 8 hours. Because the Earth is mostly covered with water, chances are it'll hit an ocean. And some scientists believe as much as 40% of it will get burned up in the atmosphere. But if it hits land, whatever's left of it is bound to leave a mark. Jill Nato, Fox News.
At least 30 people were dead after a bomb exploded near a girls' school west of Kabul. The Taliban condemned the attack, and there's been no claim of responsibility. A well-known billionaire hosting tonight's Saturday Night Live show on NBC.
Tesla and SpaceX billionaire Elon Musk will take the stage this evening to try his hand at hosting the iconic show, which also features Miley Cyrus as musical guest. The announcement of Musk as Saturday Night Live host has drawn criticism on social media.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Yesterday, 2 groups of men shot at each other near Bagram Base, where I am. Today, the soldiers are happy about some of the men dying and sad about other men dying. Sergeant First Class Aaron Tomlin is only sad about 4 of the dead people.
It's a long, tough day here. We lost 4 good men.
No, 27 men died. 4 American soldiers and 23 Taliban soldiers. You said that 4 soldiers die and it makes you sad. But you said when Taliban soldiers die, it does not make you sad. I asked Base Commander David Hawkins to make it make sense.
The last thing we resort to is hurting anyone. But you have to understand, it's our job to keep the American people safe from our enemies. And sometimes that includes...
So if you kill your enemies at your job, it is not sad.
Well...
What if I killed my enemy Ryan at my job? It would not be sad?
No, you shouldn't do that.
But he is rude to me. He steals my yogurts. He makes fun of the way I talk.
Look, only soldiers can kill without getting in trouble.
Okay. Are you going to kill Ryan?
No.
It does not make sense.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line for you to talk about whatever is on your mind. 603-283-6160. With you in the studio tonight, it's Aria.
And Joa.
And horrific things are happening in Israel and the Gaza Strip, as we've been talking about off and on throughout the night. There's really no good solution for any of it. And I hope they just find a way to peacefully coexist, although that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Can you hand me that?
Yes, of course.
There is an interesting list of stuff that was brought to my attention, and I think it's worth talking about. We've been talking about the vaccines, right? And whether or not we're going to get them, how people are treating the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. And I've seen a lot of these people who, at my other job, who got their vaccines, they did get sick, some of them significantly worse than others. But a subreddit group is ground zero for vaccinated people who want to compare their adverse reactions after receiving the experimental COVID-19 vaccine. Users at r/COVID vaccinated describe their symptoms after vaccination and ask for advice, whether their conditions are normal and whether they should seek medical help. The group is a repository of wild anecdotal post-vaccine adverse reactions, but despite the innumerable horror stories, vaccines are still being promoted in the group as safe and effective.
You know, if they would just read the ingredient list and maybe the little pamphlet that folds out to a giant poster in fine print, maybe they would have thought otherwise.
So this is actually from InfoWars, and it was printed for me. So, that was very awesome. Some of these posts are shocking. To start this off, I want to say I'm very much pro-vaccine and am blessed to have gotten it. I'm just searching for similar experiences for advice. I'm a very healthy person, No underlying issues, and 6 weeks ago I got my first shot of Moderna, and not even a week after I developed pulsatile tinnitus, which is a constant throbbing or whooshing sound in the ears. I have never experienced any sort of tinnitus before this, and didn't think anything of it, just thinking it was a weird headache or allergies until multiple days had passed and I still had it. Now, I'm a musician, so I deal with tinnitus. This is just a constant ringing in my ears. That's why I have to have a fan on and stuff like that. It sucks, but it's not really constant either. It is, but you only notice it if there's actual silence.
I know what you're saying. I have, I guess, a little bit of that too. I didn't know it was that though.
5 weeks later, I've dealt with it every single morning and evening. I've also had 6 weeks of extreme fatigue, brain fog, weakness of extremities, as well as chest pain and headaches. COVID tests I've taken have all been negative too. This person's vaccinated and still out there getting COVID tests. I don't understand people.
Well,
I know they're not 100% effective, but
right.
Why is the reaction to this cold so overwhelming?
I'm not surprised. I mean, I saw an article the other day of a major league coach that got the vaccine and he still got sick. So I'm not shocked by it, but like, how do you even know? I mean, it sounds like a money grab type of thing if they can get as many people diagnosed with it as possible.
It's bizarre to me, man. If you have to still wear the mask, if you have to stay away from unvaccinated people, if you can still get COVID-19, if you still have to get tested, what in the name of God is the point of the vaccine?
Well, obviously that if you were getting these shots and falling for the trickery, that you're probably still continue to fall for the trickery, right? Which is that you could still be vulnerable and isolate yourself, and they're trying to see what percentage of the people are going to still follow this protocol. And I guarantee there's going to be quite a few people. I mean, you've already invested yourself into getting the shot, so why you want to risk that, right?
Logically Cynical 2021 on Twitch says it's all about submission, and I tend to think he's right. I don't think it's necessarily submission to the government, but it is about submission to the culture, to the whole idea. We have to show our allegiance to that particular group by wearing the masks, getting vaccinated, staying 6 feet apart from others. I want things to return to normal. And I was told that that would happen once people started getting vaccinated.
Sure.
People have been getting vaccinated, but we're still nowhere near normal. All the social distancing crap is still up. Is any of it ever going to go away?
Not if it gives them more control and power. No, it's not going to go away. This virus is going to pull through, and it's going to come with a second, third, fourth, and fifth wave.
I would be shocked if it didn't. It is a coronavirus, and those evolve very quickly. That's why we don't have a vaccine for the common cold.
Right.
But with this one, they could, because of the experimental gene treatment that trains your body to recognize the spike protein that evidently is specific to this particular strain of coronavirus. So, vaccines. In another post, a user warns about receiving acupuncture treatment immediately after taking the second dose of Johnson & Johnson's vaccine. So this person is a quack anyway. This settled science person, or the science is settled, however it is they're saying it, visits an acupuncturist.
Well, I wouldn't say, I'm not going to rule out acupuncture as quackery, but I would say,
I will.
Okay, congrats. I don't, this is something we can argue about, but I do think that there's something to alternative medicines. And if, maybe because the government is allowing it, maybe it isn't really noteworthy. But seeing that there is alternatives out there for your health, I would seek those versus the recommendations that the government might provide, because whatever the government's providing is not really healthy. I mean, look at the food pyramid, for instance. But I'm just, I digress.
I don't think alternative medicine is necessarily bad. The brain is powerful, right? If you believe that an acupuncturist is going to make you feel better, then you will feel better after visiting an acupuncturist, right?
Geez, I wish I believed in government because I feel better.
Well, I mean, it's essentially the placebo effect, and the same is true of chiropractors. I played some of the best guitar that I've ever played the day that I finally visited a chiropractor. And the two things aren't really related. I just felt better.
No, I'm going to disagree. I think that chiropractic would probably help you perform better because you're aligning not just whatever they may have worked on, but maybe aligning more than just that. And so when you're when you're 100%, you're going to be able to perform 100%. But if you didn't go to that chiropractor, maybe you weren't 100%.
I still think it was completely in my head. But, that would make sense, too, because it feels good to have your bones popped or your joints popped.
Not for nothing. I've gone to chiropractors that were absolutely junk. And, the person that was trying to perform chiropractic on me was about a third of the size of me. And I was like, I already questioned before walking to the, the bed, if this is going to be effective. And it was not. So, I saw it after other chiropractor.
In general, I prefer to put my health in the hands of the American medical system for the most part. I tend to think they know what they're doing. Yes, there's a lot of evil in it. And when the pharmaceutical companies align with government to do crap like this, it sets off my alarm bells. But that's because the state is involved rather than just a doctor and their patient.
Well, wouldn't you say that most of the medical industry is controlled by the government or...
Well, they at least receive influenced and funded, certainly. But there's documented evidence in most cases that, the medicines they prescribe work for the treatments they're supposed to be prescribed for. Now, the issue here with the COVID-19 vaccine is that all of that research kind of got skipped.
Yeah. Well,
but like with estradiol or something like that, I firmly believe the American medicine system is right. That
I don't think I have as much faith in it as you do. Not that I'm gonna, have my opposite defiance disorder come into play, but I do believe that alternatives are much better influenced than, say, what government is trying to promote on us.
What are your thoughts on it? 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
The Terran Federation and the Terran League have been killing each other for decades. Sheltered, wealthy, and light years from the threat, the members of the 500 have no interest in changing that. When Rear Admiral Terrence Murphy is given governorship of a backwater system, a risk-free path to wealth and power is his for the taking. But Murphy is a man of honor, duty, and responsibility. He intends to stop the killing, whatever the cost. Governor, by David Weber and Richard Fox, from BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's
the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people like passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. If you want to call in, talk about whatever, 603-283-6160. Let us know whether or not you intend to get the vaccine. I imagine most people listening to the show do not intend to, but I would just be curious about our listener base and how they feel about the COVID-19 vaccine.
Sure.
I have no intention of getting the vaccine now or at any point because, I mean, obviously, I've had COVID-19, still can't smell or taste anything, and I appear to be fine other than that, which is more of an annoyance than anything, but let me tell you, it is one hell of an annoyance.
I don't know if you could smell this right now, you'd just be like in torture because I'm just hungry now just from smelling it. It smells delicious in here in the studio.
I mean, the smell of food certainly is a driving force in causing people to become hungry. So maybe that's when maybe I'm losing weight still. I don't know. I've tried to maintain my consistent eating patterns despite not being able to taste any of the amazing foods that I love, like the curry Indian today. Amazingly flavorful stuff. Couldn't smell it or taste it. And the same with the Jamaican that I had just a few days ago. I mean, this is highly spiced, flavorful stuff. Couldn't taste it. Could barely even notice the heat from the Scotch bonnets that they use to make the murder sauce that I like. I found that particularly weird.
Wow.
So I'm thinking what I would like to do is like go buy a bottle of hot sauce or something like that. Since I'm immune to hot sauce anyway, because it's so minor. And to just make a YouTube video of me just chugging the entire bottle of hot sauce because it won't taste like anything to me.
Do you have more of those Carolina Reapers?
No, I gave them to Calvin.
Oh.
I imagine I would still feel those. I mean, those sat in the back of my throat for a long time.
Right. It's a pain. It's not like a taste. It's a pain.
Yeah, and these were dried, so they didn't have a whole lot of taste to them. And then once the pain hits, that's all you can taste is pain. Right. So we're talking about these vaccine experiences that people have found on Reddit, the adverse reactions they're having. Shot one, I had no reaction except strong pain in my arm that lasted for a couple of days. On the second day, I felt like I could feel the pain abating, but also seeping across my body, having pain on that side of my whole torso. As a person with a tendency towards big health anxiety, I started to fret. Then about 20 minutes later, all of the pain vanished like magic. A couple of days later, I was feeling good and went to my doctor for acupuncture, which is weird to me that they were feeling good, so they decided to go to their doctor, but whatever. I had been having pain in my neck from sleeping weird and neglected to mention that it was the same side where I had just had my shot. After the session, I went to put on my jacket and felt a huge welt in my arm like a big bug bite. I thought it was where an acupuncture needle had been and remarked that it was so strange because I had never had a reaction like that before. Man, this person is overly verbose without getting into any of their actual symptoms. Well, it's clear to me now, and probably to you, I'm skipping this idiot.
In all fairness, maybe they don't have any symptoms because they're going to get these these treatments.
Could be. I mean, well, they go on at quite lengthy rant here about their symptoms and what they had, but it's buried in 5,000 pages of flowery text that I don't care about. Another person says, the unsettling part were the menstrual changes I experienced. To preface this, I've been tracking my period religiously for the past 3 years. That's odd. After I stopped hormonal birth control. That's like Ian used to have a calendar on the wall here in the studio where he tracked his bowel movements. That's what this reminds me of. I stopped hormonal birth control. In the past 3 years, I received the flu shot every year, an MMR booster, and a typhoid vaccine. I also had pretty bad food, water poisoning in Central America. Yeah, that'll happen. With intense fever and chills, my cycle has been consistently within 2 days of length of the previous cycle. Over a year, my cycle has not been more than 5 days of difference. It seems that vaccinations and fever have not affected it. The cycle before my vaccination was 32 days long. I should have received my period April the 28th, which would have been day 32. And this is minor too, but there are a lot of allegations going around there that this is really affecting women's menstrual cycles.
Well, you're essentially changing your DNA, so expect some changes.
Yeah, the first couple of days were also brown. That's too much information. I hope if someone reads this, maybe they can calm their nerves if they are experiencing a pregnancy scare like I was. I've heard of people having 2-week-long periods after getting vaccinated or just not having their period at all. I mean, it's strange. And it's not being talked about in the mainstream media. I mean, this is on Reddit. Someone actually experienced it, and it's not an uncommon thing to talk about. 27 and had a pretty normal experience, but had arm soreness and an early period after the first dose. Felt like garbage for a few days. Boy, they are really selling me on this vaccine. And had an early period again after the second dose. I've seen a lot of people worried about menstrual side effects, which according to science is a normal aspect of immune response, since estrogen and reproductive hormones play such an integral role.
Really? That makes total sense, actually.
So I'm a little bit of a hypochondriac, but I have a big swollen lymph node on my collarbone area. It's big. I just noticed it yesterday, and today it's even bigger and painful when I touch it. Shooting arm pains, body aches after Moderna's vaccine. They just go sensitive tonsils and uvula, headaches and a rash 6 days after receiving a second dose of the vaccine.
You'd think they'd learn their lessons. I mean, come on. The people at these vaccination sites, they know what's going on.
I mean, they would have to. So the first week after my second Moderna vaccine, I had a daily low-grade temperature of around 99.8. I'm now into the end of the second week after my second vaccine, and my temperature has been around 100.2 every single day. Can you imagine having a 100-degree temperature every single day? Another user described feeling tingling sensations, like a cross between pins and needles, and the sensation of cold water drops.
I went cop blocking the other night in Claremont, and we go around chasing cops, right?
Right.
But we turn the scanner on, and within 30 seconds, I'm hearing, "Oh, we have a possible reaction to the vaccine. They're having chills and high temperatures, and
They called the cops for this?
Well, 911.
Okay.
But you listen to the scanner, right? So
Yeah.
you listen to everything that's going through. And then they went ahead and said that, oh, yeah, it's a day after their second dose of the vaccination. And I was like, no way, really? What a surprise. And I hear these a lot. I've heard a lot of cases of, people just being scared of having maybe a little cold or something. And they call in, like, possible COVID case.
Yeah, I'm getting really tired of people asking me about my medical and health history when I call them. Like, just about everyone asks the question, have you had any coughing or fever in the last 2 weeks. Well, that's really not any of your business, is it?
Or maybe they should listen to Free Talk Live and they can hear all about it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've been pretty open about it. The amazing thing to me was that I didn't get any time off from work for it, despite having COVID-19.
Wow.
But, it turned out to be the right decision. No one else got sick as a result of me.
Yeah,
so.
I got sick and none of my roommates got it.
Yep. It's really simple to wash your hands. 603-283-6160. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Carl Wattner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Wattner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Does this ever happen to you? Moments after you're introduced to someone, you forget his or her name. It's a common faux pas you'll want to avoid, especially if you're a job seeker. And even if you're not, here's a tip. As you are being introduced, and while you're still shaking hands, smiling, and making eye contact, say the person's name aloud. Not only does that make a deposit in your memory bank, it acknowledges the other person. And that is more than a nuance, as is maintaining eye contact. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. Cutting through the clutter rather than blending into the blah, blah, blah will help you connect better no matter what the conversation. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. The LRN.FM's social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Free Talk Live.
Is it ever appropriate to use violence to oppose the state? I can't say I would blame somebody for wanting to meet the SS at the front door with the clubs and the guns or whatever they could to defend their family. I wouldn't blame them.
Gandhi went to jail. What if he had met the English at the door with shotguns instead of going to jail? I don't want to talk about this anymore because, it's just madness. I don't need to be playing these scenarios out where what am I going to do if this happens or what am I going to do if that happens?
It's not a good mindset.
I'm gonna get the chainsaw out and cut a couple of trees across the driveway, and I'm gonna sit out there with a 50 cal bullet, and I'm gonna pick them off.
It'll drive you crazy.
Nuts. I mean, you're gonna die from high blood pressure and a lot of shiny guns. I'm a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. Coppers.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Wolverines. Brrr.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. That's the call-in line. You can talk about whatever you want. I'm particularly interested in learning whether or not people out there intend to get the vaccine. And if so, which one? You know, I said earlier I wouldn't get a vaccine, but if it actually became mandatory, like Mark of the Beast levels of mandatory, like I was going to starve to death not being able to shop anywhere if I didn't get the vaccine, I'd go with the Johnson & Johnson one.
Yeah.
Because it at least seems to be a classical vaccine.
And it seems like the lowest risk one, even though they had some recalls on it.
We've been talking about these people who, by and large, are younger than me, presumably healthier than me. I mean, if they're younger than me, that seems like a fair assessment. But who struggled with fatigue and brain fog and all of these other conditions for weeks after getting their second vaccine. I did experience fatigue and body soreness for like a day, and then I was fine. And that was the extent of the symptoms I felt. So that's just my response when people ask me, are you going to get the vaccine? Why in the hell would I? So I can feel like I did that day for 2 weeks instead?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm good. I'll pass. Thanks, though.
And to what benefit after that, too? I would say slim to none, since they're telling you could still get it.
Yeah, you can still get it. You still got to wear a mask. You still have to social distance. I don't see any hope of any of that changing. But one place where you won't be required to wear a mask and you won't have to socially distance is Rogers Campground. And I'm no longer as sure as I was that I'm going to be going to Fork Fest this year, but I'm still pretty sure that I will be. It would depend. Obviously, Ian and I both can't go, but I don't think he's going to be permitted to go. So I think it'll be likely that I will be there.
I have a feeling you're going to be able to go.
It's going to be at Rogers Campground, June the 28th through July the 4th, right after the Porcupine Freedom Festival. Fork Fest kicks off the day after the Porcupine Freedom Festival. Fork Fest encompasses Independence Day, July the 4th, the final day of Fork Fest. There'll be a fireworks show. Who knows what else there would be at Fork Fest this year? Last year, there was a chiropractor. There was amazing food every single night. There were several vendors. There were poker games. It was a lot of fun. I urge you to come check it out. Forkfest.party is the website where you can learn more. Just all you have to do is book your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June the 28th through July the 4th. There's no better place to be, and I've been looking to it all year, not least of which is because, it's going to give me some time off of work. And I love that.
Unlike Porkfest, Forkfest is decentralized. No, everyone's in control. And you can, throw your own party, cook your own food, do what you got to do.
Let's go to the phones. We got David calling from New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on a couple of conversations with Joa. And Joa had countered me a couple times on a particular topic. And also Jet had, your caller Jet had chimed in on this. And I don't think he was fully understand. And that is the civilians versus the government. If the government finally goes way too far, they've gone too far, but if they go way too far and it gets physical, first thing is that we, the people, are not likely to attack them. The fight is likely to start by we, the people, saying, no, we're not doing that, and then the government trying to force us to do something physically, and then a fight breaks out. And then Joe, you had said what they have F-18s, and what Jet was trying to explain to you, and then I never got a chance to, but I would have said the same thing, is that they may have F-18s, but they're not going to be their F-18s for very long. They're going to be ours very shortly because, like Jet was saying, he's a retired military pilot, and I'm an airline transport pilot, and he can fly anything that they've got pretty much. I can as well. And if there's 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million active and reserve military, then there is at least 8 million, 16 million retired. Yeah.
Well, what's going on here is that I'm not paying their salary, right? They're not going to listen to me. They're going to listen to the people that are paying their salary. So
what David is saying is
that's not how it's going to go down.
Yeah, what David is saying. Let me explain, David. What he's saying is that these retired Navy pilots and U.S. Air Force pilots will just hijack the planes themselves.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're not even we're not even hijacking because they belong to us. The paid operators are just the current salaried paid operators, and those aircraft and other weapons don't belong to them. They belong to us. They're just paid to operate them for the moment. And if the S hits the fan, then we're going to take them. And the other thing is,
I don't know how successful you're going to be attempting to do that.
Right.
Well, wait a minute. What Jet was trying, nobody likes to, nobody thinks anything of what I say. So what Jet was trying to tell you, and he can tell you again in his own words sometimes, is about fighting to a knife and using that to fight to get to a gun, is we are going to take their guns one by one and turn them on them. And that's not even counting the fact that half of the active duty military, actually probably a majority of them, are not going to fight against we the people that finally face them down. They're going to back down, at least half of them or more. In fact, most of them
I think that's hopelessly optimistic.
Yes.
Well, you know what? So people out there, other men that are out there listening, call in and share your opinion. I don't think it's hopelessly optimistic whatsoever.
Look, I would look at it like this. If there's going to be some sort of invasion amongst United States citizens or United States residents in this country, it's and where you're saying that the military won't do it upon us, our own military, well, then it'd be a foreign entity. And I'm sure that these powers that be are going to figure out a way to make sure they get the job done. But these are huge hypotheticals, man. I don't think that they would even want to take this action because they know how many guns that the people have. But I'm not saying that, that we have really much of a chance when they, like, I never said F-18s. I said F-16s, right? They got tanks, they got F-16s, they got drones.
Okay. Well, there's a huge difference there, but go ahead.
There is. I'm sure they have anything that at their whim. Okay, it doesn't matter, but they have anything at their whim, and they can do whatever they want. They're gonna get whatever they want. They can do things much more in secret. They have abilities to listen to everything that we do. I'm not trying to say that you're wrong, that we don't have a chance completely, but you're suggesting or that this solution could come from the regular people hijacking their planes. I don't see that as an actual viable solution.
No, it's absolutely a solution. If like I said, I guess you need some other men to call in and explain it. But
why other men? Why not a woman?
Yeah. Why?
Fine.
Yeah.
If there are women out there that are of the mind, then by all means call in and explain it to them. But you guys can just, if it ever goes down, then you guys can just sit on the sidelines and watch.
Look, if I don't have a choice in the matter, right?
David, thank you so much for the call tonight. I will point out that, even if your hypothetical could come to pass and retired military people were able to hijack the current military equipment, all we're going to get is another state. We're not going to be able to war our way into freedom, peace, and liberty. And I don't want another state.
I don't want people controlling other people. That's what I don't want. And
I don't either. And that's what people with guns ultimately attempt to do. I mean, every revolution in history has started like, oh no, we're going to actually be free and equal and society is going to be great. And then what happens? It becomes Cuba. Or it becomes the United States government. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We have no recorded examples of any military saying, "Oh, we're gonna take over and have freedom," and that actually coming to fruition. Right. I don't want to take the chance again. We can secure our freedom through peace. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Hey, you are going to love the movie Victimless Crime Spree. It's hilarious, heartwarming, and carries a ton of inspiring freedom messages. Feeling down about the lack of liberty in your life? You need to put on this film with some friends and have a good laugh. It's a true story about me and my friends in New Hampshire living free, singing, dancing, and getting arrested. Of course, it's all on video, and the bad guys, the cops, judges, bailiffs, and sheriffs, they all play their part like it's out of a movie or something. You would think we scripted the whole thing, but it's real life. Go ahead and have a watch, and if it's been a while, have another look. I guarantee you'll notice things now that you didn't notice before. And the best part is that you're going to walk away feeling a renewed sense of your own power. You are the master of your destiny, and you will be free in your lifetime. Victimless Crime Spree.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Breaking weather news. Belize is sunny and around 82 degrees every day this week.
What's the forecast for your life? If current politics and economic prospects are cramping your freedom, escape to the tropics. ECI Development has affordable second homes for you to own or rent in Belize and other tropical countries. Places with stable governments and growing economies. Secure your freedom now. To find out more, send an email to ftl@ecidevelopment.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live 60. There's really no point in giving out the numbers since I prefer not to take unscreened calls. But on that note, I do want to say thank you to Studio 8424 LRN. They're an amplifier of the show, which means they like Free Talk Live enough to help us get on more radio stations. The AMP program is the best way to do that. Check it out at amp.freetalklive.com. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It's used strictly to advertise, market, and promote. Free Talk Live hits its name. Studio 8424 LRN, that is a mouthful, and I would love to have something else to refer to you as, but thank you so much for amplifying the show.
Thank you.
Studio 8424 LRN's activity for promoting Free Talk Live isn't actually just limited to the AMP program. He also rebroadcasts us on the Float platform,
Okay. All right.
And
Well, I
he does a
appreciate
few
that.
other things like that. So thank you so much. Lengthy name that I really don't want to say again. Check it out, amp.freetalklive.com. Now, you had an article about Bitcoin and the possibility of it hitting $250,000. Oh, your phone died.
Yeah,
So
my
you don't-
phone
oh, that.
died.
Okay.
I didn't bring
Well,
my charger in here.
I can probably pull up something real quick if you want to talk, so I have a minute. Or we
Yeah,
can continue with the conversation about with David's little fantasy there, because I happen to be in agreement with you. I think any armed conflict against the United States, even if I supported it morally, which I wouldn't, is doomed to failure.
Yes.
And people point at, the Vietnamese War and the Korean War and say, oh, well, the United States couldn't even defeat some rice farmers. What the American citizens could certainly stand up to them. Yes, but the United States government has been fighting wars with one hand tied behind its back. It has been sparring, essentially, making sure that it's continually prepared for a large-scale conflict with Russia or China. These wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, they're not meant to be won. They're meant to keep the United States military ready to go, operational, trained, and active until the United States government wants to put them to use. If the United States government was actually fighting a real war for its survival against, say, Russia or China or the American citizens, it has these things called nuclear weapons, two or three of which would completely deter any further opposition.
Right. And I look at it like, well, let me put this in perspective, is that the people are saying, oh, they came to feed people in deserts and living in caves. Well, yeah, that might be true, but that they didn't know their enemy. Whereas they know their enemy here because they spy on us.
Yeah.
And they have all the advantages here. And I don't know if the troops would turn on its own people per se.
I think the vast majority of them would, because they've been trained to.
Yeah, if there's enough isolated of them, like they've been isolated for such a long time, they'll take any orders. They are military. They have been brainwashed to be in those positions, and they'll take any action that they're, as soon as their captain tells them to go do something, they're gonna go do it. They're not going to, turn a blind eye. They want to pay off their college tuitions and earn a salary. I'm sorry. And it's not going to come from me, but I
tend to agree. I've had former military people who probably would not obey an order to shoot an American citizen, but the vast majority of them that I've spoken to throughout my life have been like, yes, if my commanding officer told me to fire on the American people, I would fire on the American people.
I mean, I hear a lot of people, especially the ones that didn't get to shoot people, even though they went to go there to shoot people because that's really what they wanted to do. I hear it more from them that they wanted to go shoot people and they didn't get to have that opportunity.
So they were upset, frustrated that their whole
but they're the ones that end up coming home sooner. The ones that end up shooting people. And they went in like, hoorah, I want to go kill people. They're the ones that end up staying there a little bit longer because and that were able to kill people, right? Because they had the mental capacity to handle these these killings. So, but maybe if they're not, they come back and they're all distraught and whatever else. But maybe
it's insane to me that anyone is enlisting in the military because they want to kill people. I'm appalled that there are people out there who want to kill people.
Well,
and
they've been brainwashed to be there in the first place. And if you can give them an incentive that's so extreme like that, yeah, they're going to want to do it.
Sure, but believing in your cause and believing that it's necessary to kill people in order to achieve that cause is one thing. Wanting to kill people is different, I would argue.
Well, they think they're doing it righteously, right?
Yeah, casus belli. That's always been the issue. But yeah, if it came push to shove, the American government nuke New York City, nuke San Francisco, nuke Dallas, suddenly everybody starts cooperating again. There may be some holdouts who are just, incensed after this, but the Japanese people were ready to die for their emperor, and yet they accepted the surrender when their emperor surrendered. So it doesn't really matter how hard-headed you think Americans may be, or how motivated they are to fight their government in this instance. Once nukes start dropping, Americans will start bowing.
Yeah.
And the United States government just isn't using nuclear weapons against, Russia or China because it's not at war with them.
I just feel like that if any nuke goes off now, I think one was enough for people, the whole world, to figure out that if it's going to go off again, it's going to be all world war breaking loose again. And I don't think that's going to be their solution. I think the nukes are just their leverage on all these smaller countries that don't have nukes. That's what I think it's all about.
I think it is very likely that we'll ever see another nuclear weapon dropped. It would require the United States to go to war with China or Russia, or for one of those two to go to war against themselves, because for the United States government, or for any government, to be willing to use a nuclear weapon, it has to be, its very existence has to be threatened.
Right.
And those are the only nations capable of threatening the existence of the United States.
That's true.
So, I mean, we're not going to use, the United States government is going to use nuclear weapons against the Taliban or against Iraq or against Assad, because none of those people, none of those nations or their armies are capable of doing any significant damage to the United States government.
Well, they were smart to spread out, unlike, say, Free Staters that are organizing in the one spot. That's not a suggestion, federal government.
No, I don't think they, I don't see any of this happening. I think Americans are too lazy to ever rebel against their government, and I don't think it's a good idea to take up armed rebellion against the government, even if people were motivated to. You're just going to get another state. And as we pointed out, you may have the best of intentions here, and you may firmly believe, and your general may firmly believe, that once they secure power, they're going to give it away. They're going to create a truly free country.
People were very happy to get their vaccines just so they can go back to the ball sport games, and I just was rolling my eyes in my head. Are you kidding me that they're willing to sacrifice their DNA just so they can watch some men chase a ball? It blew my mind.
Well, I don't care about sports ball, but if it proved to be the case that I could never go watch another live rock show unless I was vaccinated, I would probably get the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Just to see,
what band would you want to listen to specifically if they offered a...
I mean, just any band.
Oh, I'm so
any
sorry.
Rock band. I mean, I live for rock music, and I have for most of my life. So if that turned out to be the case, I'd be like, yeah, okay. I'll get the Johnson & Johnson one.
I don't think I could do that. I mean, I haven't been that many concerts, but I understand where you're coming from.
Well, there's always that one thing that someone wants to do badly enough that they would actually get the vaccine, even if it's something like, being able to grocery shop or whatever.
I guess to those extents, I hope I have set up enough of a network where I don't have to go to the grocery store.
Okay. Well, good on you for that.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of hoping it doesn't come to that extent, and I don't think it will. I think if the conspiracy theorists are right, then the COVID-19 is sort of a test run for the grand unveiling of whatever evil master plan people think is going on here. I think I tend to take the whole thing at face value. There was a coronavirus scare. People believed it was. It didn't help that in China, it did appear to be significantly more of a threat than it was. I mean, we all saw people being boarded up in their homes, dragged out of their homes, kicking and screaming. Chinese police officers and military going through the streets, disinfecting everything with some kind of aerosolized sanitizer. It looked intense. It looked like there was justification for being afraid of this virus. So that was going on before anyone in the United States even had it. Then it came here, and the fear just never abated, and it only increased.
Because they were threatening our livelihoods at the same time. Like, here, get this vaccine or you can't go to ball sports. You better believe people are going to fall for it. And
thanks for listening tonight. It's been an awesome Tuesday night edition. We're online in the meantime. Head on over to freetalklive.com.
Make logical choices, people.
A newly recruited search and rescue officer, Marshall Hunter was resigned to a life of rescuing wayward spacefarers and derelict satellites. But when a billionaire couple goes missing, his own ship is disabled during the rescue. With communication satellites suddenly failing and lunar mineral shipments disappearing in transit, the crew suspects it's more than a coincidence, and Hunter must choose between salvation and sacrifice to save his crewmates and their civilian charges. Frontier by Patrick Childs and BaneBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
The latest episode of Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A major energy pipeline shut down by a cyber attack. I'm Joe Chiro, Fox News. Colonial Pipeline says